Hey, Grace Point. Good to be with you again for GPRead. We are looking at the end of Deuteronomy. Can you believe it? We're already through the fourth book of the Bible. Is it the fourth? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, fifth book of the Bible. And we're finishing up the reaffirmation of God's law before the people move into the land under the leadership of Joshua, Moses' right-hand man. And what you're going to read, beginning in verse 29, is the covenant that is renewed with the people. So God, once again, is stating his covenant and renewing his commitment to the people. He's going to talk about repentance and forgiveness and how that takes place amongst a repentant people who come to God. And then Moses pleads with the people. And he says, I put before you a choice, life or death. Choose life. And what he means by that is when you obey the Lord, you will receive life. You will receive blessing. And that is what Moses, this great leader, wanted for the people of Israel before he passed off the scene. He wants them to move forward. Then in chapter 31, we read about Joshua succeeding Moses, becoming the next leader, and how that all comes about. They read the law. Joshua is commissioned to lead in Israel. And then the day that we know is coming comes. Moses, after singing a song called the Song of Moses, is taken by God up onto a hill. And on that hilltop, Moses dies. It's one of those scenes in the Bible that is, in my mind, somewhat understated. This great leader, this man who was used of God to lead his people out of captivity, to establish them with the laws, to lead them through the wilderness time of suffering when they were so disobedient, he passes off the scene almost as if an afterthought. And my interpretation of that, my understanding and belief, is that God doesn't want it to be about a person. It's about him. Though Moses is revered as a great leader in the Old Testament and a figure of great faith and a man who is very humble and endured a lot for God's purposes and for the sake of God's people, it's not about Moses. It's about God, isn't it? And so as we read about the death of Moses in chapter 34, we see this end of an era, the end of the Exodus and the wandering in the wilderness, and we move into the book of Joshua. Now, Joshua's chapters 1 and 2 are very important. Pay close attention. You're going to see God commissioning Joshua personally, and Joshua takes on the mantle of leadership at that time. They move toward a city called Jericho, and there is a famous story about a woman named Rahab who's a prostitute, and she takes spies from the Israelites who come into the city into her home to protect them. She's heard about these Israelites and about their God, and she becomes a believer. Now, if you look in the book of Matthew and you see the genealogy of Jesus, there are only a few women mentioned in that genealogy. Guess what? Rahab is one of them. So Rahab marries into the tribe of Judah, which is the tribe through which the Messiah, Jesus, came. So there's all kinds of lessons we could learn there, but just that's a very interesting account, watching what happens as Rahab has faith in Yahweh for herself, and Israel comes into the land to begin taking over in the name of their God. Now, that's as far as we get in Joshua. We're going chapters 1 and 2. But we also get to read in the book of Psalms this week, and that's going to be Psalm chapter 91. Now, the reason we're reading Psalm chapter 91 is because Jewish scholars, even all the way back into what's called the Second Temple period, meaning the period between the Old Testament and the New Testament, believed that Moses wrote Psalm 91. So it's kind of fitting that as Moses is passing off the scene, we hear a psalm that is associated with Moses that's believed to be written by him. And as you read Psalm 91, it's almost like you can hear the experience and the voice of Moses in that psalm. And don't slack on your reading of Proverbs as well. All those little powerful nuggets of wisdom begin to penetrate and soak into our hearts and minds and enable us to think wisely in the midst of daily circumstances, even when we don't realize it. Friends, thank you for persevering. Thank you for being a part of the GPRead program. If you ever have questions about what you're reading, you can always write to us, office@gracepoint.life. And someone will get that, and we will respond to you to answer your questions. God bless you, friends. Love you. Talk to you soon.